How's it going today? Today I'm going to showcase a new team I've built. This is a one-key team featuring Iron Brago. It is a 2-1. It has Altan, Iron Brago, Rhazin, then Valkyrie and Marshall. So this is going to be pretty much a defense-based team taking advantage of the passive 10% defense and pretty much nearly 100% uptime of defense up that Iron Brago brings, and it has definitely been my best damage team. It is a team that will clear 100 million consistently. I've topped out at 108 on Void and 111 on Affinity. I'm going to go ahead real quickly. I'll show you the team setup on Deadwood Jedi, and I will then go ahead and get into the run. So Altan, speed 226, I'm going to have him delay once. Valkyrie is running at 251, I'll have her delay hers twice. Oops. Marshall is 252, he's going to go immediately. Brago is at 204, he's going to delay his A2 twice, his A3 once, and then lastly Rhazin is at 189 and he's not going to delay at all. So if you look at this, how it sets up, turn 2, the first stun, Iron Brago will have cast his A2, which will cover. Turn 3, you're going to have, on turn 5, you'll have had Iron Brago's A3. Turn 8, this is the last turn. It syncs on turn 9. So in this case, Iron Brago will have done his A2, and then subsequently you're always going to see this. He'll have defense up for every turn, and furthermore, you will have a Valkyrie's shield up for every turn as well. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up real quick, and we'll get it started. So let's go to the battle screen. We'll go to Clan Boss, and we'll go ahead and we'll hit it. Now, once this is done, I'll go ahead through and show you the team, the masteries, everything I've done to set it up. This team is really nice, and you're going to see it hits real hard. So I'm starting with a rotation. Everybody goes once through the rotation except Rhazin. He will go ahead and do his shear. A second time around, Valkyrie A1. We're going to have Altan cast Wall of Flame. We'll have Battle Storm. Okay, at this point we can hit auto. Now, what's pretty awesome is once you get the crit damage up on Rhazin, you're going to see that he'll hit super duper hard. I mean, his 3 A3s, I've seen him cap up at over 80,000 each time. So he is doing really hard damage. Brago hits extremely hard too. It's kind of a toss-up which one hits harder between Brago and Altan. Brago definitely does more damage on my comp since Altan is eating this stun. Right now, the way I've got this team built out, I've got Rhazin in mixed gear. He's about 4,800, 4,900 defense, 100% crit rate, and 258% crit damage. I have Brago in 100% crit rate. I've got him in mixed gear as well. I've got him around 5,900 defense, and I wanted to get him as high a defense as possible because of his passive 10% increase. That's like a 10%, that's 590 defense at least for everybody on the team, depending on the order of his defense increase. and then he's at 100% crit with 227% crit damage, I believe. Then I have Altan. Altan, I started in mixed gear. It was pretty good. I mean, it was over 6,000, but what I found was I did better when I moved him to stalwart. So he's about 4,800 or 4,700 defense in stalwart, 100% crit, 234% crit damage. His accuracy is 240. It's not crazy high. I'm not running any of these guys like extremely high accuracy. I think Rhazin's 255, Altan 240, and then Iron Brago 246. And then, the people who make this work are Marshald and Valkyrie. With Marshald, I've got him at 252 speed in stalwart. He's about 3k defense, and about 75% or 70% crit rate. He's got a lot of room to improve. It's just I only have so much fast gear in stalwart, so I had to live with giving up the crit damage and crit rate. Similarly with Valkyrie, Valkyrie's 251. She's in 3 speed sets, and she's also kind of a similar setup. She runs at only right now 61% crit rate. I'll improve this over time. What I would really like to do is get the entire team into stalwart. It's a challenge for me right now at the speeds to get the damage output and the high defense in stalwart. So I'm gradually moving in one by one. I'll probably actually move Rhazin next. In this team setup, he actually is the most vulnerable because of his lower defense. And once this gets beyond turn 50, which it typically will, he is vulnerable to dying from AoEs more than the other guys. I have seen surprise situations where Valk or Brago died from AoEs too. Right now, there's enough shield left on Altan to make it past turn 50, so it's just really a question of whether somebody dies sooner to AoEs or not. Once I fix that, I think this team will probably clear 120 million. It is, if you're looking at the damage starting to ramp up, it is doing 2+ million a turn. It's and you can see why. I mean, Altan is hitting 150 or more K per hit. Brago is just doing very solid damage, and Rhazin's A1 when Marshald's crit rate is up is just insanely high. So once you see the crit rate up, you'll see the damage is just really good. 210, 220, 230 out of the combined damage from Rhazin. Big crits out of Altan. Just it's a really sweet setup. One thing you'll notice is for the stun, Marshald does not have a shield up. It's important to be aware of that. It is really important that everybody has defense up when the stun hits. If they don't, when Marshald does his A3, he will blow his shield away, blow his defense down away, and he will be immediately targeted for the stun. So what I've done is adjusted my team setup so that he is not as likely to get that, and basically by ensuring that there's always an A3 cast by Brago or Altan before the stun occurs. I'm just going to let this run. This will run for quite a while. I'll come back then when it is very near the end, and we will just look at the results, and we'll talk about the team setup. I'll show you my gear and masteries, and we'll go from there. Okay, you can see we've made it to turn 45 now. we're running along pretty smoothly. It's at this point in time starting to get into the point of time where you are at risk of his AoEs wiping out folks who don't have stalwart, and that's the main reason that this team would not make it to an 100 million key. As you can see, it's still hitting really hard. At this point, it's caught up with the 2-to-1 turn ratio damage, and it should be passing it here soon. Again, you see it that hit through the shield on Rhazin. On Altan, who has 4,800 defense in stalwart, he's still got a lot of shield, which is a big dependency. You'll see he takes the stun like a champ here, and and kind of continues to roll along. The team, in a future edition of this team, I'm going to have everybody into stalwart. At this point in time, I just can't get the numbers I want out of Rhazin or Brago in stalwart, so I've kind of left them out. Probably the only person who I might not put in stalwart would be Valk, because she is, I'm trying to get as absolutely the most possible defense out of her, and at the speed that she's at, it's pretty challenging to stack that up so much. So that would probably be the one exception, but I expect to circle back and get Brago and Altan, or I should say, and Rhazin into the stalwart soon, and that'll even improve this damage more. You know, as I said, the best I've seen out of this in the test runs I've done is 108 on Void and 111 on Affinity. So I've gotten some really good keys so far out of this. It looks like in this one it's going to end up making it over 100 million. I wouldn't be surprised if he wipes out one of my champions who's not in stalwart sometime in the next turn or two. It's definitely a big risk point, and that's the main thing that is inhibiting this from even going farther. Every turn it makes it like this, it's 2 million more tacked on. So this is it's all physical damage. I'm not fooling around with poisons. They just hit so very hard. As you can see, we'll probably be, oh, they survived again this one, so there's a real good chance that this will end up being my highest void key I've had, based on what I'm seeing out of him right now. I expect he's going to not get killed by the stun here, and it's going to go into the next set of AoEs as to whether he'll survive. Let's find out. Yep, he still survived again. So this is going to be my best key I've had, or at least my best void key I've had. This is probably going to be my best key I've had, period. Now, nobody got wiped out again, and we're going to run right up to the bitter end. Wow, everybody survived again. That's crazy. This could be. This is definitely going to blow away my best one so far. The interesting thing is, if I get all these guys into stalwart, there's no reason you wouldn't do this every single run. I mean, absolutely no reason. You could probably be at 115, 120 every single time you ran on void. That's definitely going to be my end goal, because this damage is incredible. But you know, like most people, gear is the limiting factor on how crazy your builds and comps can get, and it certainly is with mine as well. I mean, I certainly have the gear that I can build one key teams all day, and but there are limitations when I get into specific gear sets. I don't have the most insane gear out of everybody out there, for sure. Once this run wraps up, which I do not think he's going to survive past the next stun. We'll see if we make it past this AoE. Oh, we did not make it past this AoE very much. So we're pretty much at the end of this run now, for sure. I will quickly show you the gear that's on these guys. One more turn. I don't think they survive the AoE here. Nope. Well, you guys got to see a new best for me. This is certainly as high a damage as I've been able to do. And you can see Rhazin just is a complete beast in this comp with the defense up and with the passive defense increase from Brago. And you know, of course, Brago is doing very solid damage. I'm not getting a lot out of Valk and Mashald. There's room to improve them. Their crit damage and crit rate is not over 100%. But you know, I'm mainly focusing on getting all my damage out of these three, and then these guys are just here to do their abilities that make this work, and everything that they give me damage wise is a bonus. That's the way I've treated it. Bounce out and show you the rest of the teams. So I will now go to champions, and we'll start with Rhazin since he's the first one. Again, I did mention he is in loose set. He does have 1 speed. Masteries, if I show you, he is using Lore of Steel. I also have Master Hexer for a longer uptime on defense down and weaken, since that's absolutely critical to this comp's success. I'll just walk you through the gear. A lot of focus on crit rate and crit damage. Where I could, I tried to get extra defense. I did real well on some of my pieces. And then I was able to get him in defense boots at this speed, so that, you know, worked out quite nicely. His hit point total is a little bit lower. He'd be a lot healthier against wipes if I could have this closer to 40k. With the damage and the gear I had, I'm not able to do that right now. I mean, that's the other thing I could do if I didn't want to get him in stalwart, to just up his survivability a little bit, but I don't. I'll probably end up putting him in stalwart, honestly, next. So let me go ahead now and get into Altan. You can see Altan, he's at 226 speed. I did get him in a 4-piece of stalwart, and then just a loose set. I have his hit points intentionally as low as I possibly can, since the stun damage is a percentage of the hit points. I really don't want his hit points to be terribly high. It'll help him last longer for the stun, so it's right in the 30k. 4,700 defense, 226 on the speed, 100% crit rate, 234 crit damage, and his accuracy is at 240. I was actually worried about that, but he hits enough that it really has not turned out to be an issue, especially coupled with Brago. Speaking of Brago, let me get in and show him off. He again has 2 speed sets. It's in mixed gear. I've focused on getting him as much defense as possible. So you're going to see he actually has, defense and crit rate are focus points on him. And you can see I'm also getting him in defense boots. I got a real sweet quad roll for his ring. Got a triple roll too for his amulet, which is a kind of a nice setup. So he's got a real good gear set, just under 6K, which is about 594 passive defense for everybody, which is a sweet bonus. You can see his crit damage 224, debuff accuracy 246, and his masteries, I kind of followed the same setup which I've been doing, which is mitigation, a counterattack, and then down to here so it gets an extra 4% damage on void. If I show you next my last 2 champions, these guys are not quite as well set up in terms of damage dealing. You'll see if you just take a quick look at Valkyrie, she's in 3 speed, only 61% crit rate and 117% crit damage. There's certainly room for improvement there, but the 7,000 defense is pretty awesome. So I've got her in the following pieces. And she carries the same masteries as well. My last champ then is Marshald. And you can see he is also not at 100% crit rate. I have him at 73. He's got 154% crit damage, just under 3,200 defense, and 40k hit points in Stalwart. And again, his masteries are the same batch as well. So you can see what I've done as far as building this team and gearing it out. I think the next steps, if I really wanted to take this team to the next level, especially in terms of consistency, there are times, you guys saw an amazing key in this video. There are times this comp will die out between 95 and 98 million. That's seems to be the low water mark with the current build. So I think once I was to get them all in Stalwart, I'd see this be a consistent 110 key every time I ran it. And on affinity, it's kind of similar. Brago takes the stun on a blue affinity. Altan just takes the stun as normal on a red affinity, and then on green, this significantly degrades. Based on their damage output, I'm guessing it's still a 2 key. I actually would run a different comp if I have to run this on green, and I've got a Man-Eater Unkillable that I'd probably run instead of this that probably out damages it on green. I might run it as a test run on green just to see, because it's definitely not affinity friendly. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on the video, or you can go out to our Discord and you can chat with me there. You'll see links to the team speeds, the setup that I'm particularly using, and also links to the Heart Up Heroes Discord in the description. Have a great day.